The tender space, difficult space. Talk us through the first tender.
Bidding for a tender is probably the last part of the process.
Gaining access to crucial markets and resources through tendering has become a gateway into the world of business for many entrepreneurs and small business owners.
A lot of SMEs are struggling to actually complete tender documents. They are not compliant with the SAR submissions. They're not compliant with the PE. They're just, doing things without checking the nitty-gritties that then don't lend them even to be shortlisted for that matter.
What are some of the ways you have found as a business will improve your chances of success when it comes to bidding for a tender?
People didn't take us serious. They don't trust you initially. So you need to build trust. Try and get your name out there. There's a lot of work that goes into driving to a power station every day to go meet with an end user and a buyer. You would make sure you are there and they're about to have conversations with these guys to see what's available. Build a team, have some challenges, deliver. And that's how you build your name.
It seems like a track record is really one of the key ingredients in winning more work.
While SMEs are encouraged to put contingency plans in place for tough business times, they often become debt-ridden, trying to save their business.
Funding is the elephant in the room. It's what every SME needs, but not every SME can access it.
We never negotiated our payment terms on any of the contracts that we won. So that's a big learning for us. They would come in at the negotiation table and say, guys, we want to pay you guys 60 days. So we're like, okay, no, it's fine. Give us the 60 days, it's fine. Just give us the work. The challenge came in when you started winning more work. As the business has grown, so we over 200 employees now currently.
Sure.
There's a challenge in terms of we need to pay our salaries at the end of the month. We need to pay our credit cards on the 7th of each month. That's where Sourcefin comes in.
I'd love you to, if you could, one piece of advice to SMEs in a range of circumstances, and a piece of advice that you would have loved someone at the start of your journey to have given you, which would have made it that much easier.
Essentially, we've got a family-owned business, and the business has been in existence since 2001.
Okay.
Multiple entities, all focused on different aspects of business. So initially, we started out as in telecommunications, where we built all the lines out in Malanga, and then from that, we branched into engineering services. In about 2011, we landed a lucrative contract with Rand Water to supply valves. What we done was we partnered with the Chinese. We designed the valves locally. Then we traveled to China to understand how we can manufacture those valves. We were able to manufacture at a very good cost, and we will supply those valves into Rand Water. That's the backbone of the business. So essentially, we made a lot of money from that, and we could then get a workshop, and we could start focusing on things that we really wanted to focus on. So the initial focus was Eskom. We wanted to do maintenance projects on a 3 to 5 year basis, and that we had a bit of a backbone where we'd done a little bit of maintenance on valves, bit of maintenance on plants, bit of maintenance on plant and equipment that they use on a regular basis. So we were able to start landing those contracts once we started holding a track record, and once we had the financial backing of the lucrative contract that we had landed. We focus on fabrication, so we build mechanical structures for businesses.
Right.
But the problem is anyone can do that. We focus on pressurized systems.
Okay.
So anything to do with a boiler. So we do boiler maintenance. Anything. We do maintenance on the ducting systems. We do the maintenance on the dampers. Then we do maintenance on the valves associated with it. Very specialized work. So we've got high skilled employees who come in, refurbish a valve, the packs. So that's where we have a competitive advantage. Not many entities can come in and refurbish a valve. And now we're starting to branch into the marine side of things. So we're looking at a lot of Transnet ports, fuel facilities, trying to see how we can. Those are also pressurized systems, but now we're doing all the mechanical engineering services related to that. We want to build a big business. We're looking to be a major construction business that can take on old Group 5 or your large entities that have failed, Battle Reed, that have failed in the past. We see ourselves as that kind of business in the next few years. the idea behind the family business started in 2001. And then as we grew, we formalized everything from about 2008, 2007. We've actually said, okay, guys, let's go into business. It's your time to leave the job. But I was still studying. I was still involved in doing my articles. I was still a long way from the business. People didn't take us seriously. Like, okay, cool, you don't have an education for what? So listen, Shane's still studying. Let's see how we can integrate you into the business and say, when we go in and we say, Shane's the CA, now we can listen to you. Because the background that we have is no one's educated in what we do. We have to learn on the job. There's constant school fees. There's multiple stories of school fees that we've paid over the years.
You said that in 2011, you landed your first big project.
100%.
It was Rand Water, right?
Correct.
And it seemed like you worked with a few government entities or SOEs. I think the other one you mentioned was Eskom.
Correct.
And obviously the tender space, difficult space. A lot of good work that's been done in the tender space. Community service delivery that's going, obviously impacting communities on the ground through service providers like yourselves. Without water, you don't live. Without electricity, you can't generate jobs and help the economy thrive. So you are filling an enormous gap in the market. You're solving pressing problems. But obviously it's hard to get into that game.
Yeah.
Talk us through the first tender. Talk us through bidding for the first tender. What goes into it? What are some of the lessons that you've learned where SMMEs are struggling? Maybe they're bidding, they're losing out, they're confused, they don't really understand why they're not getting it over the line. What are some of the ways you have found as a business will improve your chances of success when it comes to bidding for a tender?
Bidding for a tender is probably the last part of the process. You need to start trying to get your name out there. So it's a lot of, there's a lot of work that goes into driving to a power station every day to go meet with an end user and a buyer. Times have changed. You're not allowed to do that anymore, right? So we would drive every day to Indrina power station to go meet with buyers and end users. So the buyers would have their meetings at a specific time of the day. The end users would have their meetings at a specific time of the day. You would make sure you are there and they're about to have conversations with these guys to see what's available. And they don't trust you initially. So you need to build trust. So they say, okay, supply me with this nuts and bolts. Then you need to do it as fast as you can. Okay, supply me with PPE. Sure, let me do this as fast as you can. Listen, I have a big project here. 8 million rand. I want you to refurbish. I want you to construct and fabricate this for me. Okay, let's see if we can do it. Build a team, have some challenges, deliver. And that's how you build your name. And then when you start tendering, they're like, okay, no, we know NLM. We know NLM. And that's how we built ourselves. So you've got a lot of the end users have started placing a lot of, confidence in the work that we do because we've built a relationship with them over such a long period of time.
That comes through experience, I suppose.
100%.
And a track record. You mentioned a little bit earlier, as you started building a track record, you were trusted more. What is that track record? You mentioned a little bit about you were awarded certain orders and jobs. It was about executing on those.
Yes.
Is there anything else that goes into building a track record where it seems like a track record is really one of the key ingredients in winning more work?
The track record, obviously, it's doing the work, but there's compliance behind everything we do, right? So we need to get accredited for ISO 9001 and 3834, but the tenders will guide that process. But you need to do it, and it doesn't make sense at the time. It's expensive. It's like, why must I spend 150,000 to implement a system to tell me how to run my business? And that's the type of learnings that we have from building a track record.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it is. It's the executing, but also being able to execute, having the compliance behind you, meeting the requirements of a tender.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that isn't clearly laid out, and SMMEs may be a little bit confused.
Exactly.
About the requirements. And like you said, questioning what the point of those requirements are.
Yeah.
I'd love to understand, so you mentioned the tender is what guided you. How did you then take the tender requirements and lean into that? You know, you mentioned an ISO 9000 something. How did you know where to look for that support? Obviously, there's service providers out there. Based on the tender, what did you do? How did you go about finding the right?
Okay, so you lean on the people, your network that you have. So you speak to people. Okay, cool. Who's the guy who does ISO 9001? Okay, so we associated with TV, and we started our business focusing on Eskom. So Eskom, TV, the first grade supplier that you can use. So when they see TV, there's a bit of comfort. There's a lot of providers that can provide you with ISO 9001 certificate and that, but we lean on those. So we say, okay, cool. What is our industry leaning towards for us to be at the front line if they see our bid? To say, okay, cool. Here's a tender. These guys are associated with TUV. They must be good. There are other requirements. So it plays a part for everything. If in terms of health and safety, environmental stuff, in terms of building. So that's stuff that we'll have to work towards. We'll know that, okay, cool. In order to refurbish a high pressure boiler steam valves or main steam valve, you need certain equipment. So that goes on our list of equipment that we need to acquire, so that if Eskom or if SAPI comes through and have a look at our site, they say, okay, cool, these guys, they have the equipment in place to execute the work. Okay, cool. How's their labor force? Okay, cool. They have the best machinists in the game to do this. They have the best quality managers in place to do this. Yes, we can trust these guys to do the work.
It seems like you've built a track record, you've built relationships, you've got compliance, and you win an order. You win your awarded tender for something that you've been chasing for a while.
Yeah.
And the reality hits. We get that amazing email, and there's all of a sudden this reality that we need funding to execute on this order. You also have the realization that when you do deliver, there's not an instant payment coming through from either Rand Water or Eskom. There are those payment terms. You don't get payment terms. You've got to pay salaries. You've got to pay suppliers. Now, funding is the elephant in the room. It's what every SMME needs, but not every SMME can access it.
Yeah.
So that's where funding comes in. That's where Sourcefin comes in. I'd love to hear what your situation was. What situation did you find yourselves in when you realized I actually need a little bit of cash flow in order to grow this business or to successfully deliver on a project?
Our journey was okay. So we've been able to self-fund ourselves for many years, and that's through strong relationships with our suppliers. So I would go to my supplier and you would give me a 90-day term or a 60-day term. But the challenge came in when you started winning more work. Okay. So the first thing where we went wrong is in terms of we never negotiated our payment terms on any of the contracts that we won. So that's a big learning for us. So they would come in at the negotiation table and say, guys, we want to pay you guys 60 days. And the idea of having the work was better than thinking of, so we're like, okay, no, it's fine. Give us the 60 days, it's fine. Just give us the work. So there's been a massive shift in it. As the business has grown, so we over 200 employees now currently.
Sure. Congratulations.
Thank you. And there's a challenge in terms of we need to pay our salaries at the end of the month. We need to pay our creditors on the 7th of each month. So if my customer's only paying me 30 days, how do I negate that? That's where Sourcefin comes in. So Sourcefin will ensure that, okay, cool. We generally do invoice discounting with him. So we've done the work. We have an approved invoice with our client, generally Transnet or Eskom, and they will then fund us 80 to 85% of that money.
How did you find Sourcefin?
Whoa.
Take me through that process.
So we actually done some work with some of your competitors.
Okay.
And that's how we actually found Sourcefin. So then through one of your competitors, we done some research like, who else does this? And that's how we found Sourcefin. We had some challenges in the beginning. I think there was a trust deficit. So we weren't doing work together. So we done a deal, basically closed, and we had to sign the docs, and the client paid us. So we couldn't sign the docs because why would we do that? And then it happened, I think it happened 3 times. And then Brandon actually stepped in and was like, hey you guys, maybe we should fund these guys. And that's how the relationship eventually started holding.
Interesting. I like to dig into the trust deficit.
Yeah.
At the start of any relationship, there's always a baseline of trust, and that trust grows over time. What do you find how do you how do you feel the trust was grown or earned over time from both sides? I mean, you're trusting Sourcefin with funding.
Yeah.
And we're trusting you to execute on an order and be paid in 90 days.
Unfortunately, everything's a relationship. So
Absolutely.
some of my mutual friends are people that are connected to people who work at Sourcefin. That created some trust. And then the other thing was the deals weren't getting over the line because the client was paying me.
Yes.
So,
Which is a good thing
It's
from
a
a
good
Sourcefin
thing,
perspective, but
exactly.
also a bad thing.
exactly. So you haven't got the deal because the client is paid. So you could have released the fund. So I think it was just, it just had to happen over time.
And from your first interaction with Sourcefin to now, what has stood out? What are some of the things you really love about the brand and about the relationship and the partnership?
Yes, bro. So I'm struggling now because they want to move Cody onto me and Brandon's moving away. And I'm like, it's the relationships I have at Sourcefin. It's like, hey, Brandon, I have a deal coming up, 2 weeks time. This is what's going to happen. And he understands, right? I know, I don't want to tie it to an individual, but that's how I feel, right? So Brandon, hey, we need money. I need money today. I know it's late. Here's the invoice. This is the story. But we can play open cards with each other. Like, listen, I have a problem. The problem is this invoice, I'm comfortable with it. But the client hasn't signed off. So how do we address that issue? Okay, cool. Let me chat to the guys. It's just open communication. That's the key thing for me. Like, I can communicate openly with Brandon. Currently, I need to get there with Cody, right? So I can chat to Brandon. Hey, boy, listen, this is the situation. What can we do? And that's where we want to be. I think that's the key to the relationship.
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's that partnership. And over time, we built that trust. Correct, Brandon. The good thing to note is the culture at Sourcefin is so strong within every employee, but specifically within the deal managers that guide clients through the process. So what you've learned to enjoy from Brandon, you're going to learn to enjoy from Cody and any other deal manager that you work with. Of course, it takes a bit of time to get to know each other, build that trust. The nice thing is you've got Brandon inside Sourcefin, and if you're feeling like you're not getting it over the line the same way you used to, at least you can still reach out to Brandon and he'll make moves for you on your behalf. And I think that's what Sourcefin prides itself on, is that relationship building, that's partnering for growth. Your problem is not your problem, it's our problem. And how do we work together to solve that problem? Now, looking ahead, Shane, where's the business going? And where can Sourcefin serve you better into the future as your business grows?
Okay, so Sourcefin is essentially an open checkbook for me, right? So we can chase this as much as we want. And that's how we view it. Like, guys, as a sales team, whatever deals you bring, we have a funder on board. We might need to prepare them in terms of how this deal is structured, but there's funding on board. So go out and find as many deals as you can. We're trying to see if we can sell elements of our business. So there's a element of our business where we manufacture economizers. So we think we do it at a very good cost. We think it's very scalable. The refurbishment of valves, we think that is also a saleable part of our business. But how we do that is something that we're starting to think about. We're going massively into the marine space now. So we've got a flagship project that we've taken on. We've done it at a very low cost to enter the market. And we're gaining a lot of understanding in terms of the engineering, in terms of marine. That's a massive focus for us. So we've been targeting the mines quite a bit. And we're starting to get some traction on the mining side. So I think, so we are anti-municipality, but focused SOEs and mining. That's us. That's where we're getting towards in terms of strategy.
So you've said a little bit about Sourcefin being an open checkbook, which we love. Of course, we're there to support you. And I'm guessing you're using the product we call invoice discounting most of the time.
Correct.
I was wondering if you had conversations with Brandon or the deal manager around the purchase order funding side of the business, which is what we like to call more than just funding.
Our business is, we deliver service we try to deliver service at the best cost, right? So sometimes that cost will eat into our margins. It's something that we always have to look at.
That makes sense. Yeah. So I think what's nice is you understand your unit economics. So you understand what numbers you need to lock in order to service your clients. And what's nice is you've decided that invoice discounting is the product that serves you better, which is, we respect that. It's great to work with a client that knows their business, knows their numbers as well as you do. I think leaning into South Africa, the economy, a lot is said about SMMEs. SMMEs are often referred to as the backbone of the economy. They are the biggest employer of individuals. We've got a huge unemployment rate, and SMMEs help to bring that down. I wanted to find out from you, when you hear the word backbone, when you hear the word enablers of economic, or the engine of economic growth, what does it mean to you in your context, with your frame of reference of your business? What do you see in your business being the backbone of the economy? Thinking of employees, thinking of the impact that you're delivering. Without you, there's obviously going to be a void left in society. There's obviously going to be services or impact that isn't delivered to communities that may need it most. The salaries you pay don't just pay the individuals that work for you. That's money that's been taken home, being used to buy groceries, being used to pay for school fees. In your words, in your own words, what does backbone, SMMEs, do as Anyland? Why are you the backbone of the South African economy?
We're a family-owned business, right? So when we chat, you're watching Jed, right?
Yes.
When I touch Jed's life, we're not just touching Jed's life, we're touching Jed's mom, Jed's wife, Jed's dad, Jed's wife's dad, So within our system, right? So we have a very blue-collar base. We're touching a lot of lives, and we have to build that in. So in terms of our life policies, and our medical aid, and our funeral policies, when we make a decision, we can't just say, hey, this is for Jed. We need to think, hey guys, how does this serve every single part of their family? So if Jed's mom passes away, what happens? How do we bring that in? So from an employee perspective, that's how we look at it. From a background, I think we're still learning and trying to find our feet. We've got a few elements where we say, okay, cool, this is a business. This is 100% a business. But we're a project-based business, and we need to find a way to make it more consistent for everyone.
No, that's a great answer. And it shows the impacts, not only to communities, but also to the people within your organization that you're serving, which is incredibly inspiring. Shane, it's been amazing spending time with you. You've clearly built an unbelievable business, 2001 to 2025. I know it's been not a straight path. Yeah, there have been lots of twists and turns, but you've clearly built something that's sustainable and growing and thriving. Now, there are SMMEs out there that aren't in the same position as yours. They may be displaced by AI, they may be bidding for tenders and may be rejected. They may be applying for funding, but they're not necessarily getting the funding they need or the access to opportunities that, they'd hoped for. I'm sure they're looking to an entrepreneur like you and your SMME, and they want to learn what's set Shane apart, what's set Anyland apart, what's allowed your business to grow and thrive. I'd love you to, if you could, one piece of advice to SMMEs in a range of circumstances, and a piece of advice that you would have loved someone at the start of your journey to have given you, which would have made it that much easier. I'd love you to share that piece of advice with the SMMEs that are watching.
Always keep your word, whether it be suppliers, customers, employees. You go such a long way if you just always keep your word. I'm going to pay you or communicate. It sounds so arbitrary, but always keep your word. Yes, I'll deliver in 2 days. Deliver in 2 days. Yes, I'll pay you in 2 days. I think that's the mantra of what has taken us this far.
That's brilliant advice. It's all about integrity, something that Sourcefin prides itself on, and it's at the core of trust in a relationship and building a partnership. Shane, it's been a pleasure meeting you and learning a little bit more about you. You've been a treasure trove of information and wisdom, and I'm hoping SMMEs watch this and are able to learn from your journey.
Thanks, Jed.
Thank you.